It's 1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for October 21st, 2019 to order. Roll call, Commissioner Varnell.
Present.
Commissioner Littlefield.
Present.
Commissioner Russell.
Present.
Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Shoeline.
Present.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner George, not available. And Commissioner Milner.
Here.
I'd like to have a motion concerning the minutes of the September 16, 2019 meeting, please.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Varnell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shoeline. Any discussion? We have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16, 2019 meeting from Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner Shoeline. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Can I have a motion concerning the elections of chairman and vice chairman?
Yes, sir. I'd like to nominate Mr. Kula for chairman and Mr. Hale as vice chairman.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller that Commissioner Kula would be the chairman and that Commissioner Hale would be the vice chairman. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
We got a second over here from Commissioner Littlefield. Do we have any other talk on this item? Okay, we have a motion to have Commissioner Kula be the chairman and Commissioner Hale to be the vice chairman from Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Littlefield. Votes, please. Okay, item approved. We move on now to the report on licensed taxi and record services for the months July, August, and September. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Let's see here. This is going to be our third quarter report for the year. On the taxi side, on driver's permits, we have 12 new drivers, 6 renewed, 1 replacement, 29 vehicles passed. We had 2 investigations. Limos, we had 3 new drivers, 24 renewed, and 10 limo inspections, and 1 investigation. Carriages, we had 2 new carriages, 2 renewed, and 5 inspections on carriages. On pedicabs, we had 2 new drivers, 1 renewed, 1 replacement, and 10 inspections. And on shuttles, we had 2 new drivers, 12 renewed, and 7 inspections. I have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate a bit, if you're able, on the 2 investigations on taxi and the 1 investigation on limousine?
The 2 taxi inspections, one was on a cab that was supposed to be out of service for Twister Cab. I called and did a small investigation and verified it was out of service. So that one was concluded it was no longer being used. On the second one, which is I'm going to be going in detail about that investigation at the end of the meeting, but that involves a overcharge on United Taxi. On the limo side, this is on Classy Chassis. The gentleman wanted to bring in a antique vehicle for limo, but with current federal, state, and our regulations, it doesn't meet the standards, so we couldn't let it pass. You're welcome.
What's the current count for taxis? Just a guess.
I'm going to say around 80 at this point. I think it's a little higher. We're getting more on board.
Getting more on board.
We're still a little bit under par.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We go on now to item 4, the consent docket. It's got items A through G. Just to clarify on item G, it's for not approval. It is to move it to the next meeting. Okay, so item G is not for approval. It is moving it to the next meeting per the request of the applicant. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so is there anybody here who wanted to speak against an item on the consent docket? Okay, do we have anything, staff, anything special?
Staff's reports before you. Is there any questions?
Okay. Counselor?
And then if any motion would go forward, please also include the deferment for G.
Okay, very good. All right, so do we have a motion concerning item 4 and all the items for the consent docket.
Motion to approve the consent docket with the stipulation to move item G to the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent docket from Commissioner Hale. Would I mention that item G is moved till next meeting? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Russell. Do we have any talk on the consent docket? Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent docket. I would note that item G is moved till next meeting from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Russell. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Can we now go to item 5? We will discuss, we'll have the sergeant come up and brief, items A through Q minus D. When you talk, it'll be for items A through Q, except for item D, and we'll talk about item D later. Okay? So why don't we start with you first, and then we have some people that want to talk about items in Section 5. Okay, sir.
Alrighty. On items A through Q, this is on the ordinance violation for monthly lists for companies are supposed to, by the last day of each month, give me a monthly list of drivers that are still working for them or have been fired. So I have an updated list on those, and also updated list on vehicles that are out of service or in service. Purpose of this, one, we do stats a lot. We get open records requests, my command staff request it, y'all request it, city council requests this stuff. So I try to keep my stats very up to date for how many vehicles and drivers we have on the motor carrier side. We've been trying to get I got about 26 companies total that I try, I'll send it out to get those requests. We've done this for quite a few years. Lieutenant Dancy was doing the same thing before I got there. So we've been trying this for about 10 years to get these stats updated every month. So I sent out an email on, excuse me here. That's not the right one. I sent an email out on August 14th stating we needed to get this, I needed to start getting these requests in so I can keep these up to date. Then I reiterated another email on August 15th, so 2 days in a row, trying to get everybody into compliance with the ordinance. Out of those companies in the month of August, out of 26 companies, I only had, let's see here, 8 companies out of 26 that gave me the request. That was it. The rest of them did not. So in September, I did the same thing, and we were up to 9 companies. So we still got quite a few companies that are out of compliance. So under the ordinance for record keeping, if they don't give me the request as followed, then it's automatic inquiry in front of the Traffic Commission at this point. So items A through Q are all for each individual company that did not comply with the ordinance. And then the last one will be, it's on the same ordinance plus an investigation. Have any questions?
Okay, I just want to make sure that I said it correctly. It's A through Q.
Yes,
what we were doing.
Q,
Okay,
yes.
A through Q minus D. Okay, so in our ordinances, these companies are required to submit monthly reports to you.
Yes.
And what's in the reports again?
It's supposed to be a driver's list, is separate, and a vehicle list. They're both separate ordinances.
Right. And so that way you go against what you have on your records, and you can make sure it's kept current.
Yes.
So like if they drop one of their drivers, you would then know that they got dropped.
Yes.
And you would would you pull that out of your system, or would you keep it current until it runs out?
If they're fired, they're supposed to notify me. If they're changing companies, usually they'll change over to another company and come to the office. But each month, in case we have an accident or a investigation, I can pull up these records and cross-reference those records.
Okay, and so this is something that has to happen every month?
Yes, it ties into a lot of aspects of my job.
Okay. And do you know why any of this hasn't been happening?
I think a lot of owners, even though I tell them to read Title 56, they fail to read it. But I send emails out a lot reinstating the ordinance, and I put the ordinance with those emails saying, please read this ordinance. This is what you need to be complying with.
Okay. All right, so we have another question. Yes, sir.
When it comes to filing, is this something they bring down to the station? What's the procedure that is required of them in order to furnish these documents to you?
They can do it by email, and some of them do that. I also give them a spreadsheet for both vehicles and drivers, which they can email that to me, and I have had them handwrite it and bring it down to the office. So they can bring it in any way they want to. I try to get them to do the email because it's a little bit quicker.
Okay. Any other questions for the sergeant before we move on? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, do you have any input on this?
You have our reports before you. Let him know.
Thank you. Okay, we have some people that want to talk. We go here for item 5A. Isaac, I believe. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes, sir, if I can have your, come on up to this one. Hold on one second. All right, so you want to speak about item 5A, which is Yellow Ride?
Yes, please.
Okay, if I could have your name, your address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Isaac Atakura. Address is 1900 North MacArthur Boulevard, Suite 108, and I'm here for Yellow Ride OKC. I'm here to respond to ordinance violation, that's 5627, 5684. Before I go on, I would like to give a copy of what I have here to Okay, so in the middle of August 2019, my office received a phone call from Master Sergeant Bills in regards to the ordinance. On September 26, 2019, we responded to the phone call by sending him an email with the detailed cars and drivers. On October 6, 2019, we sent him an update of the drivers list and cars as well. Prior to a phone call by Master Sergeant Bills, I was having a manager in the office, and she was in charge of any correspondence with Master Sergeant Bills. So I have no much idea what went on between my former manager and Master Sergeant Bills. I think that's my response to that.
Okay, and if I could just ask, is this something that you think that you could give every month to him, now that you have a new office manager?
Yes, since I got the phone call from Master Sergeant Bills, I went ahead to finish him with the list as he requested. And within the month, it wasn't even up to the end of the month, I went ahead to give him an update as well.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you, sir. Okay, anybody have any comments for him? All right, thank you. We have another person that would like to talk for item 5L. And 5L deals with Ride with Larry. Larry? We have Larry? Hi, sir. If I could have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Larry Adams. I live at 4031 Neptune Drive. I am a new business. It was my first year, and did not know about turning in these reports. So I am one that I walk into the sergeant's office. During that time, we found out that he had not received my email change. Rather than it being just the old one, a one had been added after my name, and so all the emails were going to the wrong email address. So as soon as I found that out, I went back to his office, gave him the new information. I've only had one driver. I'm an owner-operator, so I'll be able to comply with no difficulty. And that's...
No, very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that want to speak on items 5A through Q minus D? Please come on up. We have one right here with a form. We have the gentleman right here with the form. Yeah, we'll go with him first. If you could drop the form up over here, and if I could have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Kirk James. My address is 16216 Osceola Trail, Edmond, Oklahoma. And
sir, if I could ask, which item are you here for?
P Silk Limos, LLC.
Got it. All right, thank you.
I am owner-operator as well. And through my email, Sergeant Bales did send out the email, and my reading was misunderstood by me. I understood it saying taxis. I did not actually see the limo part. But now that I know that I'm liable for that, I have no problem with submitting him monthly the report. That's my response at this time.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. If you could turn that in, name, address, you have up to 5 minutes, and please identify which item you're here for.
Okay, name is Devin Hodge, P.O. Box 300182, Midwest City, Oklahoma. Here for a mega limo. It's G. Okay, it was a miscommunication again on my part, an understanding. We had an informal communication with Master Sergeant Bales. I was under the assumption, once I told him I was the only one vehicle, only one driver, that I was good for the entire time. I failed to realize that I needed to report every month from that point on. So that's my response.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We have somebody else that would like to speak. Yes, please, sir, come on up. Please turn in the paperwork, name, address. You have up to 5 minutes, and which...
My name is Anisul Chaudhary. I'm managing United Taxi.
Okay, which item is that one? I'm sorry? Sub-item R. But, okay, we're not doing R right now. Can you wait on that, sir?
Sorry.
All right, no, that's perfect. Thank you. Okay? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if I could have your name, address, you have up to 5 minutes, and please let us know which area, which...
Can you do it right now?
You can just fill that out later then if you haven't filled it out yet. And you're here for item H, Paris Limo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you all know, Paris Limousine has been in business for 32 years. We're the largest limousine company in Oklahoma. We provide transportation for the largest conglomerate of business owners here in the city of Oklahoma City. Not only do we sponsor different events, we handle some of the largest events that's going on in Oklahoma. We're handling the largest movie production in Oklahoma that's being filmed right now, a $30 million economic development here for the city of Oklahoma City. I am very glad that we're part of that program. We're also are doing quite a bit with Chesapeake Arena throughout the whole city. We're bringing in a ton of economic development for the whole city. Nearly through the whole time we've been here, we've invested nearly $8 million in new limousines. We just invested another $1 million in cars in the last 8 weeks. So we're really proud of our reputation, our status, our drivers. We're highly recommended throughout the whole United States. Just to kind of give you an example of how big we are, we're the largest company in Oklahoma. We're the 37th largest limousine company in America. We've been awarded the top 10 limousine company in America several times now. We're the top 10 limousine companies in Oklahoma City. Again, my name is Jimmy Paris, and I've been with this company for 32 years. We have an agent in our office. Her name is Maddie, and Maddie has contacted Sergeant Bell several times for exactly what these statutes were. She contacted him 3 times, no response. No response by email, no response by anything. You know, I hate to say this, guys, I'm getting ready to be 62 years old. When I grew up, we didn't have emails. We didn't have we had mail, but we still have a phone. And when our office calls Sergeant Bell's, we just simply like a telephone call back. You know, we're human beings. You know, there's a thing called customer service. We provide customer service. We expect the same thing with the IDs and permit office. Simply, all you have to do is just tell us what you need. We'll get it done for you. And we have it right here. But another problem we're having is we're a company called Paris, P-A-R-I-S. There's another company that wants to change and take our name, and they have the name called PARS, P-A-R-S. So we receive a lot of mail with the name PARS on it to my address, giving me different addresses and everything like that. There's a simple thing. I'm an easygoing person. Simply give me a phone call. I'll answer it for you. And I'll be glad to hand Sergeant Bell's everything he needs. But, you know, in this world and time right now, companies like us, you know, that provide the needs for this city is very important. And I appreciate your time.
Sir, if you could give your actual address also.
My address is 13500 Tuscany, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
All right, thank you for your time, sir. Okay, anybody else wanting to speak on items 5A through Q minus D? A through Q minus D. Yes, sir, you'd like to come back up.
Master Sergeant Bell, 701 Colcord. I'm speaking on behalf of item I for PARS Limo. The owner of that company called me today, and he said he couldn't make the meeting. He had business to take care of. But during the time period of when I was requesting his records, he was dealing with family matters at the time. I think his parents were in very poor health, so he did communicate with me on that, and I just wanted to relay that information to y'all.
Hold on one second, sir. We have a question.
So, Sergeant, are you saying that everyone that is here today, or these items that we are ruling on today, they're all now compliant?
No, not everybody's compliant yet.
Okay, so which items are we looking at today that are still out of compliance?
Actually, every so let me look here. Excuse me, Commissioners, I got a lot of paperwork here. At this point, we have 17 companies still not in compliance. That's from my tally of last month.
Okay, and they are items, what, on our agenda?
Item B, item C, item D, item H, and item J. Not seeing the company on that one. That's all the ones that I can see on the items at this point.
Okay. Sergeant, I have ECDHJ as non-compliant?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any indication that they are making any attempt to be compliant?
Not as, I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay. But all the ones that have spoken today, they are now currently compliant with?
Yes, they're getting it, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we need to get a motion, and then we can talk about it up here. We have somebody who'd like to make a motion concerning items 5A through Q minus D. Well, that's a good question, Council. Just to go over our job up here, I think, just to make sure it's clear what I think is being asked of us here. We now know that there's this one issue of different companies not providing the information. We've had several come and talk. They've now provided that information. In the past, what we've done on these kind of things is just give it back to the office and just say, come back next month with anybody else that has not complied, that we are aware of the situation and we are concerned and we want different companies to comply, but give all the ones who haven't complied yet one more month and have him ask him to make phone calls and maybe go visit to make sure they know of the need. And then after it's clear that we are aware and we are very concerned, if there are still companies that are not in a compliance, then we can have a formal hearing, if you want to call it, and then we can give some different thoughts, whether we let them keep their license permanently, let them keep it lose it for a week, for a month. I mean, those are things that we can do in the future. But maybe at this level, it might just be we are aware, and we would ask the sergeant to work and do some personal contacts just to make sure it's not a email problem or those kind of things, phone number change or something of that nature, and try one more time to contact everyone so they can comply. Counselor, do you have any?
If I may, I just want to clarify that today is actually a formal hearing, and so that a formal answer is needed, whether that be, to your point, of deferring these to next month, whether that be a warning, whether that be, to Commissioner Hale's point, those that spoke today are in compliance, according to Master Sergeant Bales, having those being deferred to next month, or those being having a different motion on them than the others, to your point earlier.
So are you saying that it would be possible to dismiss the people that are in compliance today and defer till next month those companies which are not?
If that is the motion, yes. The other options would be, just to be clear, 4 options, 5 if you include dismissal, but dismissal, deferment, warning, revocation, or suspension.
Okay, but it is possible for those that are in compliance as of today to dismiss those companies and then to defer those that are out of compliance to our next meeting next month to continue the hearing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I think there's somebody who wants to make a motion.
One last question. Sergeant, did I understand that H is not compliant because they are here today? Paris, limousine.
He gave me he just gave me the driver's list just now, but I did not get a vehicle list yet. But I think we can get that solved after the meeting on the vehicle list.
Okay, thank you.
So let me ask Mr. Paris, could you come up for just a second? We just want to clarify that he'll be able to get a vehicle list very shortly. He said that he has the driver's list, but not the vehicle list that you just gave him.
I'm kind of confused here. We just had an inspection done just recently.
Yes,
right. So the requirement is every month you have to give a vehicle list and a driver's list. Those are the 2 different things.
Okay, we're getting a little out of hand here. What are we actually asking for? I mean, Inspected vehicles, or?
Yes, to inspect the vehicles. By the last day of each month, I'm required to have a driver's list of all your current drivers, either they're not working or working, both, and vehicle list of how many vehicles you have in service.
So if you pull a vehicle out of service because it got in a wreck or something and it was getting fixed, so for 3 months it's out of service, that would be listed on that list?
Yes.
Kind of thing, and then when it came back in service, they would show it back in service?
Yes.
Okay.
The spreadsheet I give out actually has out of service, in service. Look, it's got, you can fill in check marks on it.
So there's 2 lists that are due every month, drivers and vehicles.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I did not,
No, that's okay.
I'm so used to our vehicles running and operating properly and working all the time that we don't have cars down.
Right, so would it be a simple task to get that to him?
It's a very simple task, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's all it takes.
Yes, sir.
We can all get along here really well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Do you have a list of for your motion, if you want to
I would like to
verify
make
it
a
one more
motion.
time? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we dismiss the companies listed in the agenda today other than companies E, C, D, and J. And for those, I ask that those companies be deferred till next month's meeting for a hearing.
D cannot be in your motion, I'm sorry. We're only considering items A through Q minus D. So it would be all items except E and J, I believe? Is that correct?
Let me correct my motion.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we dismiss the companies listed in the agenda other than E, C, and H. I mean J, not H. H is taken care of. So it, once
And
again,
D.
would be E, C, J.
Right, there's no motion on D. Okay, so let's go through. You would dismiss A, F, G, H, I, J,
Not J.
not J,
Not J.
Not J.
not J. Okay, because J's there, right, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and Q. Sergeant, would you agree that's what you have also? So the only, out of here, item D is not mentioned because it's not part of this talk right now. And so E, C, B, and J are the 4 that would have to be has to be pushed to next meeting. I just want to make sure that we get them right.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yes, I
Apologize.
understand, sir.
Excuse me, I'm trying to get to my paperwork too. C. Okay, B wasn't here. C wasn't here.
Right.
D wasn't here. K wasn't here. M was not here. Item N. Item O.
But if
those items cleared, would you?
Those are the ones that didn't show up. I haven't got any updated information from them yet.
Okay.
so
Right.
they're out of compliance? Excuse me, sorry.
They're not in compliance, correct.
Okay.
Want me to go through the list again?
Yes, please.
Let's go through the list again, okay. Item B, they're not here, not in compliance. Item C is the same. Item D, item K, item M, item N, item O. Just to let you know about item O, that owner is in jail right now. So I'm still waiting more information on that. Item E, they're in compliance. And I already told you about item I, he already called and talked to me today. Item Q, and that's it.
And what was the thing on J? I'm getting kind of confused here. J was on the list of ones that had to be pushed.
J does not have anybody attached to it. No, there's no name attached to it.
Pinnacle, it's on the next page over. It's Pinnacle Limousine Service, LLC.
Oh, there it is. It is Pinnacle, yes, item J.
So item J needs to be, okay?
Is Pinnacle in compliance or out of compliance?
Out of compliance. All those ones I just mentioned are out of compliance still.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of them, because D is not being talked yet. So there's 9 items that would be deferred. Do you agree? Everybody kind of agree with that?
So do I need to take another run at this?
I think,
Okay. My motion is to approve and dismiss all of the companies except the following. Items B, C, K, M, N, O, E, Q, J. And those companies are to be deferred till next month's meeting. And all the others are to be approved.
okay? So we have a motion from Commissioner Hale to defer subpoints 5E, C, B, J, K, M, N, O, Q to next meeting. And that the other items of A through Q minus D would be dismissed. Are we good, Counselor?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Russell. Okay. Do we have any talk on this item? Well, staff, do you have anything? Nothing else? Okay. Do we have any talk on this item? So I think what we are asking, Sergeant, if you could get with these 9 companies, try to knock on the door, try to make sure that they can get into compliance. And then that way, we would have this same kind of talk next meeting.
Yes, sir. That'd be no problem.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Are each one of the agencies, are they provided with copies of the municipal codes that govern their businesses?
No, they're not. That's something that we can do in-house. We can give them a title. I do, upon talking to owners and drivers, I do tell them Title 56 is what they need to research and read.
And I would also say that there is a link, if not a reference, and it is available online to anyone who would like to go onto our Oklahoma City Muni Code.
Okay. Any other talk on these items? Yes, sir.
So this portion of this ordinance is easy to read, it's easy to understand,
Yes, sir.
and it's not included in like 700,000 other different things that a taxi cab service would have their clerical people have to understand and see that they need to do it.
No, it's very basic and very clear.
Very basic and very clear.
Yes, sir.
And it's been on the books for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And thank you.
Okay, any other talk on these items? Okay, so we have been talking about items 5, A through Q minus D. We have a motion from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Russell, to defer items E, C, B, J, K, M, N, O, Q to next meeting, asking the sergeant to go contact them, and the other subpoints to be dismissed. Okay? Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Okay, now for item D, if Commissioner Varnell can step down, he's got an interest in this item. So I'll go ahead and read item D. Oklahoma City Police Department permits and ID units to consider revocation or a suspension of the certificate business license issued to Genie Enterprises LLC doing business as OKC Luxury Limo. Sergeant, if you want to come up and just go through this one item, please, item D, and just mention this one so we can proceed on. It was one of the ones you mentioned that was not in compliance, but we weren't able to discuss it because he was up on the horseshoe.
Which item was that, sir?
Item D,
Item D.
for OKC Luxury Limo, doing business as OKC Luxury Limo. You said they're not in compliance?
Yes, it's for the drivers in the vehicle list again.
Uh-huh.
It's still the same as the rest of the items through A through Q.
Correct, but we have to just vote on this one separately because he was at the Horseshoe.
Oh, excuse me.
And so he had to step down for this item.
It's the same as the other items. It's just we don't have the list. If I can just get the list and have a monthly list brought to me, it'd be
Very good.
corrected.
Thank you. Any staff, anything extra?
Staff has no comments on this.
Okay, anybody here wanted to speak on item 5D? Okay, nobody here to speak on item 5D? Okay, do we have a motion concerning item 5D?
Make a motion to table this item to next month.
To defer item 5D till next month. We have a motion from Commissioner Hale to defer item 5D to next month. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Milner. Do we have any discussion on 5D? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Milner, to defer item 5D for next month. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is deferred. Okay, if you want to go get them, please. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Okay, let the record show that the Commissioner is back with us, please. Okay, now we go on now to item 5R, to the Oklahoma City Police Department Permits and ID Unit to consider revocation or suspension of the certificate business license issued to United Multi-Service and Supply LLC, doing business as United Taxi, for alleged violations of 56, 27, 29, 60, 60A, 84 of the Code 2010. Sergeant.
On this item, this is on United Taxi. They have come in compliance with the list, so they are good on that part. I do have their updated list. These other violations, I'm going to read through this letter here. On 8/22/19 around 11:55 hours, I received an email from Eric Bear from the Will Rogers Airport. He stated there was a complaint from a passenger on United Taxi on Tuesday, August 20th, of about 1 p.m. Mr. Bear spoke to the passenger in reference to the complaint on a taxi cab. She advised she had arrived at Will Rogers World Airport late due to a delayed flight. She had arrangements to rent a car and was on her way to the consolidated rental car facility down the street. It's about 1.4 miles. There was not a bus available. They have buses that run 24/7. There wasn't a bus available at that time. She was waiting for this bus when she arrived at the terminal. She attempted to call the rental car company. She was then approached by United Taxi, the driver owner, Ansel Chowdhury. He told her that the buses did not operate 24/7 and had stopped operations for the evening. She felt rushed and pressured by Mr. Chowdhury to use his taxi service because, as he continued to explain to her, she had no other option available at that time of night. With no other alternatives and not being able to complete a call to the rental car company, due to Mr. Chowdhury's persistence, she used his taxi. She reluctantly got in. When she arrived at the Conrack, she was surprised to find out the minimum fare was $40 for 1.4 miles. She paid and went on, and then got her rental car. I made contact with the passenger on September 22nd via phone. She confirmed the complaint and started an investigation. I verified that the distance was 1.4 miles on the west side of the street there. On September 9th, I went out to Will Rogers taxi line myself, and I rode with one car from every company to check the meters from the front, from the line to the rental car place. My findings were OKC Orange was 825, Twister Cab was 1050, Thunder Cab was 820, And I also rode with Mr. Chowdhury that day, and that was $850 for that meter. On September 13th, myself and Lieutenant Dancy went to Will Rogers Airport, and we met with Dan Goodman and discussed this, and we had a meeting with Mr. Chowdhury. This is my findings. I asked Mr. Chowdhury about the above listed incidents. Mr. Chowdhury informed me he remembered that night and told me he asked the passenger if she needed a taxi. Mr. Chowdhury then loaded up the passenger at the airport terminal and transported the passenger to the rental car facility. Mr. Chowdhury said he charged the passenger $40 for the ride. I asked why, and he said, because I've been sitting there for 9 hours. I then asked if the $40 charge was programmed into his meter, and he said no, because I was approved by the licensing by 8th floor and 420 West Main, where they approved the business license and the rates. I informed Mr. Chowdhury if it was not programmed into the taxi meter, then it was legal. I also informed Mr. Chowdhury that his business license rate should also match the taxi meter and the posted rates inside his vehicle. Mr. Chowdhury also informed me he cannot be more than 5 foot away from his vehicle. Mr. Chowdhury was shown a picture of him not by his taxi, and we had pictures of the whole incident when he picked up the patron and being away from his vehicle, and they can only be 5 foot away from the vehicle. I checked Mr. Chowdhury's business license to check his rates, and this year when we did our annual inspections, we did a whole bunch of meters. We ran every meter in every fleet to make sure that they matched the rates to their, everybody checked out, and I thought everything was fine at that point. Under federal law, which is the Handbook 44, Section 5.54, which is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they state it very clearly. It's got to be mileage or time or both. It has to be in the meter. You can't have a minimum rate. You can't just go over your shoulder and say you owe me $40. It has to be in the meter so that the patrons can see that meter. The business license is very ineligible. I can't read it. So I see where he had a base charge of $40, which still wasn't in the meter. When he corrected it, he marked it all the way out. So the flag and his meter rate matched, but he said he was approved when I see a line through that license part. Since then, he has corrected the issue, and he has put in for a different rate change. So coming next month, his flag rate, his flag fee will be $24 and then 50 cents per each 1/7 of a mile. So, but if it's in the meter, then it's legal, as long as it's in the meter. This was a very lengthy investigation. It took me about a month to get this done, but I told these owners and drivers, please stop doing this minimum rate. This started about 4 years ago, and we've had multiple complaints and multiple issues with this, with patrons being overcharged. And then they wonder why they go to Uber and Lyft when it's only $10 to go from the airport down here to downtown. So this was caught at the airport, did the investigation. I concluded that, one, he overcharged. It has to be in the meter. 2, he was 5 feet away from the vehicle. And 3, he solicited passenger. You cannot solicit passengers. And that's my recommendation is for revocation of his business license at this point. It's a bad business model to overcharge people from the airport. And it sets, it makes me look bad and makes Oklahoma City look bad. Have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, sir.
I have a question.
Oh, we do have one.
If we were to revoke, what would his next step be to his license back?
He can put in for appeal, and 3 directors from 3 different departments of the city have to be put together, and he would go in front of that appeal board. I can refer to Haley on that.
Is he present?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, yes, sir. Come on up. You have your form. You already turned it in.
Good afternoon, sir.
So if I could have your name and your address.
My name is Anisul Chaudhary. I am managing this United Taxi business. Before that,
Sir, what's your address, please?
my address is 4324 Northwest 23rd.
All right, thank you.
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73107.
All right, thank you.
Before that, I was driver around 8 years. And on and off, I cut off and again joined, and finally I start this business last January. It was registered from 15th, but I was not able to start this business because of Uber, Lyft, and all other issues. Unfortunately, first issue is $40 overcharge, and there is nothing in the meter. This is the plate we submit to the city when we get approved, get the decal in our taxi. When I renew the license, I put they call us for change the minimum, take off the minimum, we don't need minimum. So our respective city officer, Dancy, and Sergeant Bell explain us, take off the minimum. So I ask to the city where I apply for renewal. So instead of minimum, what I should write? So they advise us anything you write, but no minimum sound. So I take up the minimum sound, and they advise me base charge. I say, what is the spelling base charge? I write down, I cut down, and I write in the top. Finally, my consideration, I am not stealing. It was before, like how many years? So many years we charged $40 minimum, and there was no meter. There was no switch that any company put one vehicle, $40 minimum, $3 flat charge. There is no system like that. So it was $3 every company or $5 company, but we charge minimum $40. And certainly when they request us to change it, we change it, and when during the time my new renewal time, I cut down $40 and put the base charge instead of minimum charge. So it was going that way, and we get inspected vehicle. All 5 vehicles in my company till today, we do all vehicles same way. Mr. Sergeant, he check our vehicles, and we get permit, we are working. Till today we are working. On my vehicle, unfortunately, we are not charging actually. Normally, all other drivers, when all company goes same way, we are not charging. That day, I get in 3 o'clock to the airport parking and end up, I think, 146, as the report shows. There was no one. I think in the middle of the line, I fall down, sleep for a few minutes, and everybody left. When I find out myself only, no taxi, no shuttle, no even rent-a-car bus. So I was going out, and I find like 100 feet off, the one lady is standing, trying to talk to somebody. So I stop middle of the street. I say, ma'am, are you going somewhere you are waiting for? I say, yes, yes, hold on. So after finish she talking, she said, I need to go rent a car. I say, okay, I'm leaving now. If you go, that's fine. I rent a car, maybe I used to work in a rent-a-car company. Also the shuttle, I used to be a CSR. I know until they have any call, they are not coming. If they came here, 2 bus only working. Anyway, end of the day, I take her, drop her. She asked me how much I owe you. I say, you owe me $40 is minimum. We have a posting in the window, a small sticker, and it was not there into the bag. Anyway, she pay me. She says, too much. I say, ma'am, this is what we have a minimum. So I take the money. After 3 days, she called me, why you charge $40? It's too much. I said, ma'am, I am taxi driver. I'm managing this company. If you have a complaint, take the number for Sergeant Bell, take the number for airport. I know I am clean. So I provide her numbers to complain if you have a complaint. If you are not happy, satisfied with me. Because I know that I have 4 more drivers. I am managing this company. And my wife is owner of the company. So what I do, I should know. Anyway, this way I provide them, and I get phone call or email also that I have a meeting. So I was expecting meeting maybe all other company for any reason. But when I go there, I find out there is a 3 ticket, one for $40 I charge. I say yes, I did that. Another for, I go bathroom, I'm diabetic patient. I take 18 medicine every day. High pressure, diabetics, and cholesterol and all others. Anyway, I used bathroom, I was coming back. Everybody, all taxi driver, we cannot control, then we just jump and we say, hey, can you look over my car? We know that unattendance, we cannot make unattendance. So we request front and back driver, 6 driver there, can you take a look for a second? Key is there, if in case you need to move, you move. We help each other to go. So I was there, and I see there is a ticket with the picture. I accept it, and I have another ticket that soliciting. I say, soliciting, when I do soliciting, are you guys doing here? I say, yes, we do. Everybody doing that. So customer going through, you need taxi? I don't know when I did that, but there is a ticket. Yes, I accept. We do sometime. When I did, I don't know. So I accept all 3, that if I don't do, we do. We all do. Whole day we are doing this. Customer going, good afternoon, good morning. This way I get 3 tickets. Now it's up to you guys. I know, I go through this. I know there was no minimum in our system ever. It's still today. No second car having second out of the flag charge. But I call Korea, I call Japan, I call everywhere, find out how to do that. Now I bring this technique that how I can make a second. So I do only on one vehicle in my vehicles as a second meter to show him that yes, we can have a flag charge without charging anything extra 6 miles. So same charge, whatever the charge we have today, same charge, but we can go up to $24 6 miles. After 6 miles, meter will be start adding that what we are charging today, $3 flag and all this, end of the, if I came downtown, it will be same. Not a penny extra. But gentlemen, he drive with me until the, I think, Rockwell or Council coming back, and we see that our meter is perfectly fine. From now on, we will do that, and I, again, instead of base charge, I change from $40 to $24 in case I need to charge. But I'm not ready to charge $24, telling you, but I don't want to get another ticket in case. This is bad in my lifetime that I ever have one single complaint by 9 years. Being a driver, no. Being a manager, yes. So I'm feeling shame to have this type of incident in my life. So I consider, I request you guys, consider me as a first mistake, and if we need to have every vehicle that separate key for flag or something that I have to have in my vehicle, I promise that from next time, any vehicle in my company, we will provide that meter that we can go up to 6 miles, then meter start. Otherwise, it will be not. And Sergeant Bell will check. Everything he check, that is approved for me. If he check, he says, no, you don't have $40, I don't approve you. Yes, I am not going to be strict. You understand that point. So in that time when we inspect, that was not the issue. That was my meter $43 and all this. I don't know that I cannot charge $40 without meter. So please forgive me in this incident. It will never happen again, at least in my company.
I understand. All right, thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir.
On April 15th, before we had our annual inspections, myself and Leroy Dancy and Megan Armstrong, we had a meeting with the taxi company owners and managers, explaining to them by federal law they could not do these minimums no more because the minimums has been a problem for about 4 years. We explained it very clearly. You need to figure out how to put, if you're going to charge $40, you need to put this in the meter somehow. And United was the only one that we had, Megan had problems with trying to get it squared away. I think it was a mistake on Megan's part because I think they thought it was marked out on the business license rate change. And then during the meeting at the airport, Dan Goodman had one of his people in the front check one of the United taxis for rates. The rate sheet for that taxi was put in the glove compartment. It's not supposed to be in the glove compartment. It's supposed to be out where people can see this. That's something we've been addressing the meters and the rate sheets for almost 9 months now because the drivers and owners are tending to do things they're not supposed to be doing. If it's an ordinance, they need to abide by the ordinance on this.
Okay, so let me just ask if I can, just to get it clarified for me. It's not a minimum rate, it's a base rate? Is that the right term?
That's what he put in his second rate change before the June 30th renewal date.
Sure, but when you're talking taxis, they are allowed to have a base rate, meaning a minimum
No, sir.
rate.
No minimum rate and no base rate. It has to be in the meter.
Right, that's what I mean, it goes in the meter.
Right.
So when they turn that meter on,
It's a flag rate. And then it goes by mileage and time.
mileage and time, but with no base.
No base rate.
So no other taxi service has a minimum charge.
No.
It all goes by time, like you said, like for the wait time and those kind of things, or mileage. So those meters are not able to be set to say, I activate the flag, $5 pops up automatically.
Yes, on the flag part, yes.
On the flag part.
On the flag fee, like most of the flag fees right now are about $3. So when they hit the meter start, a $3 flag fee comes up, and then wherever the meter is set for 1/7 of a mile, 1/9 of a mile, is 50 cents, 1/7 of a mile, it starts tallying that mileage with that 50 cents.
Okay, what was the term you used? It wasn't base, it was flag?
Flag fee.
Okay, well, so it's the same concept as a base fee or minimum. When I hit the button, a number pops up. That's just to get in the taxi.
It's always been a flag fee. I'm going to
That's what
refer
it's
to
called.
Haley.
No, that's a distinction. There is a
Okay.
distinction between the terms.
Okay,
The distinction between the terms is that a flag fee is in your meter, whereas what was being charged here was not in the meter at all.
Right, no, right, but in the meter, when you push the button, a taxi company can say in their application, their flag fee is $3.
Yes,
And in his case, he's saying now it's going to be $24.
yes.
And that will automatically pop up when he starts the meter.
And I did ride with him. I don't know how he programmed the meter, but for the first 6 miles, it was a flag fee of $24. And then once it went over to 6 miles, it actually started calculating. I
Okay.
don't know how it was done. I'll have to research a little bit more.
So it's called a flag fee,
Flag fee, yes, sir.
not a base fee, not a minimum or anything, and that's not authorized with taxis, minimums and base fees.
With taxis, to be clear, everything has to be within the meter, is what the master
Correct.
sergeant is saying.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So a taxi company on their application will say what the flag, I want to make sure I get my terms right, what the flag fee is,
Yes, sir.
right? And that's a minimum, that's just to get in the taxi.
Yes,
And then whatever the rate is, like you said, 7/10 of a mile, whatever the mileage is and the rate, and all that is on the license application.
yes.
And in this case, going back to the actual case here, what was the meter set at?
$3 flag,
$3 flag, and then the mileage afterwards.
which that's why I went out there and wrote.
And you said it would have been $8.50.
$8.50, yes, sir.
Would have been the charge, which was the $3 meter, and then whatever with that other part, the other $5.50 was the mileage.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So by him then charging $40 minimum, even though it was on a placard that was in the window, that's not how taxis work.
Correct.
Okay? I just want to make sure that I got it right.
Legally, to clarify.
Yes, please.
For a meter or for a rate to be applicable, it has to be registered with our city's supervisor of licenses. It's a separate office from the master sergeant's office, and those rates have to be in place and filed. Once it is filed, you have 30 days before you can start charging those fees.
Which is what he's talking about, waiting.
Yes.
That he-
But with the most current update, yes.
Right.
But previously, it was not on his rate. Even though it's inside of his taxi cab, it was not filed with the Secretary of License, or the Supervisor of License. I apologize.
Got it. Okay, so I'm good. You have
A couple of questions. That $8 and some odd cent, ride that you took at one point in time. Are you saying that today, if you took that same ride, it would be $24?
When his rate changes, which will be next month. So
Okay.
it will
So
be
that-
$24 plus the mileage, yes.
Okay, so,
If it's over 6 miles. Because like you said, his...
Right,
his
it'll be
rate's gonna
24, so the ride, the 1.4 would be a $24 flat.
okay, so
Excuse me, a $24 flat fee from that point.
what is today a $8 and some cent ride is now going to be a $24 ride?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I wanted to, that I'm unclear about was the solicitation of a ride. The impression I got from the cab owner was that he was just driving by and just kind of shouted out, "Do you need a ride?" The impression I got from the narrative that we received from you earlier was that he had actually approached her.
Yes.
Was he in or outside the cab when he approached?
I think it was outside the cab. No, according to the picture, it looks like he was inside the cab,
Okay,
according to the picture I have.
thank you.
And then, seeing as this happened at the airport, why is this not an airport problem with their license?
Well,
So the ordinances apply if they're operating in the city of Oklahoma City. The airport is still within the corporate limits of the city of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So it'd still be in compliance with our ordinance requirements. Not to say that the airport may not have its own requirements, but the city requirements still apply.
Okay, good, thank you.
which is correct. The Airport Trust has their requirements, and we're over that, and we do the enforcement side of it.
Okay. So there's the 3 citations. Is the citation to come to us, or is there some other fee, court?
That is the criminal side, which goes to municipal courts, in which me and Mr. Chowder will have a day in court. And the citations are not paid as of now, so I'm expecting there will be a court date set.
Right, and in the ordinance, there's a fee? Or
So
there's a
there are
charge?
2 separate approaches. So as the Master Sergeant just said, there's a criminal side for the individual's actions. However, what we're discussing here today is the owner's actions. The owner of the company, according to the ordinance 5629, actually goes into effect where if the owner should or is aware of a violation specifically called out in subsection 3, which was the overcharge of a fare or rate greater than what is filed with the supervisor of licenses, our city's office, then that is a violation that can be considered for revocation and or suspension by our traffic commission.
So really, we're only looking at the fee part, not the other 2 issues?
You also can consider the other 2 issues. I was just trying to be concise.
No, good. Okay. So all 3 issues are still with us, but there's also a criminal part to this.
Yes.
And I think the ordinance says how much each ticket is or something like that when they go to court. So they still have to go to court for those citations.
Potentially. That's not guaranteed, potentially.
Unless they pay it. Right, so it's a citation that has to be paid, so there's a financial thing there. And if they wanted to go to talk about it and try to cancel it out, they would have to go to court, is what
Yes.
you're saying too.
As an individual, yes. But to the company side, that's what we're here as a company issue today.
Okay, so we're not a driver issue, we're
Right.
dealing with the company here.
Right.
That their driver did something.
No, their owner, as a driver, did something.
Okay. But if it was just a regular driver, would we be,
There could still be an action brought,
Against the
but then
owner.
it would be, to the point of this ordinance, be looking at whether or not that owner is aware or should have been aware of that driver's action. In this case, the driver was the owner, so the
Right.
owner of the company was aware of the actions.
got it, okay, very good, all right, thank you. Yes, sir, you'll have just a second. All right, any other questions for the sergeant right now? All right, yes, sir, if you want to come on back up to the microphone, please.
Can I ask him a quick question?
Excuse me for a second.
Hold on 1 second, please. Yes,
How many vehicles and how many drivers do you have?
5 vehicles, sir.
5 vehicles? How many drivers?
5 drivers.
Okay, thank you.
First thing about this, my renewal application says that I change the price as a base price. So there is no overcharge from my side. It's clear understanding what I understand, what we did last so many years without into the machine. We charge minimum, all company. On their request, Sergeant Bale and Dancy's request, we change our price. We forced to change, even driver suffering, a lot of driver quit. So from this side, the $40, this plate was hanging during the time I get inspection. Still we have window, and we just take off the $40 by marker. Anyway, that is that part that I do not charge over. Second thing, I am not an owner. My wife, official owner, since 14. I just manage this company as a manager. If you see my application, you will find it that I am manager. Somewhere GM, I think somewhere. Today I put in the OCC paper CEO to put me somehow that I was, So this is my two clarification. Was I do not charge higher because my application shows that I have minimum. That is already approved. Like I may and I charge customer after so many months. So with that consideration, I did not charge over. And if I am not able to charge $40, I should have a notification. No, you cannot charge $40. Your application need to be changed. Second thing that I am not owner.
Okay, very good.
Any question if you have, you can ask me.
Well, yes. Okay, and sir, we do
I
have...
do have questions for you.
Yes.
So you've been operating for how many years?
I'm operating 9 months, 8 months.
9 months.
Since January I start, yes.
Okay, and that's great. So have you ever been in any other situation where you were able to charge a fare similarly?
This is first time in my lifetime. Sergeant Bale was, Sergeant Dancy was our sergeant before when I was taxi driver, and today Mr. Dancy. 8-9 years I am working here as a taxi driver and recently I'm managing the company. Okay. I never have single complaint to them.
But I'm not speaking about complaints. I'm just curious if when you're driving, has there ever been any other situation where you decided that fare would just be $40?
It is very bad, charges, very bad charges. I'm the one how I came back to start this company. I was working Orange Cab as a taxi driver. That's my uncle. I say uncle, my friend uncle. Certainly, I request few of the driver, when you are not taking the small call, sending upstairs for Uber or shuttle, please give me the call. I'm here in the parking lot. Call me, Mr. A, there is a short call, so I can run airport to take the short call only. And one of the driver, twister driver, owner is here sitting down, he said, why I should give you call? You are in the line, if you take the small call, take the small call. So I say, you guys are sending, not receiving call small, sending upstairs because we have a $40 minimum. So I have an argument with 2-3 driver. One driver strictly said no. Other driver said, what's wrong? We don't take, so he can take it. And finally, I get out from their car and I decide what to do. I came city asking that if I apply, how long it will take. City office says it will take approximately 2 months when you apply and then you go through the meeting and all this, so you can have it. I said, what about my previous owner? I have a company, my wife have a company called United Taxi. Oh, so they check it out and they say, if you pay 3 years, 4 years the renewal fee, you can have it. So I right the way, I use the credit card and get that $1,400 something, I don't remember exactly. I get the license and start thinking. My wife said, what are you doing? How will you manage? I said, I don't know. Some driver says, okay, 2-3 companies shut down, like a Green and some other company, AMC. So a driver's calling me. So I said, okay, let us start. I talked to them. They said, okay, we'll join with you. So we start like this. So we are still 5 since day began to till today. We start road license March 15th, I think, and we get airport permit April 1st.
Okay, so I appreciate that, and I think what I'm getting from you and understanding is you've been in the taxi industry for a while. You've operated this one for 9 months, but you've been involved in the taxi industry for years prior to that. And what my question is in this taxi business that you've been running for 9 months, have there ever been any other situations where you decided as a driver that this fare is going to be $25 or this fare is
No, we cannot do that.
This was the only time that you ever asked a fare to pay a flat fee of $40. I'm just curious if it's worked for you before.
Yeah, $40 we used to charge long time.
So you've done that before?
It's a long time. This is from different company.
Operating for the past 9 months in this taxi business.
As an owner-operator, we charge $40, sir. Everybody charges $40.
Okay.
But in my company...
That's what thank you very much. I appreciate it.
In my company, when we start, when we have a $40, but we don't... Even our driver, the driver sitting down here is manager.
I understand.
We are not charging $40 because we are losing job.
Thank you.
Okay, so sir, so let me clarify. So before now, where you're going to set up that $25 minimum...
No, yeah, $24, 6
minimum,
mile.
6 mile. Before that, you were at the $3 minimum and then rate.
$3 flag and the minimum $40.
Right, but the minimum $40 was not in the meter.
That's called base charge $40, what I approved in my application.
Right, it wasn't in the meter.
No.
So I would get in the vehicle, you'd hit the meter, we'd go somewhere, the meter would say $10, but then you would point to that piece of paper and say it's going to be...
It's just hanging there.
Right.
In the window.
So you would point and say, not to 10, you got to do this.
Yeah, this is what we used to do whole so many years.
Right.
But I have no idea that if I do not have in the system, I cannot charge, because we used to charge 3, 4, so many years.
But now you understand.
I understand, yes.
You can only do what the meter says.
What the meter says.
Right, and you understand that, and once the month time frame and you start this, that's how it'll be.
Yes.
So right now, today, are you still doing the $40?
No.
So you're doing whatever your meter is, which is...
Meter is, yes.
$3.
Yes. It's still $3. We're charging $3 and until we have an approval date.
Right, so you're not doing the $40 anymore?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, let's see, so we've talked to him. Anybody else wanted to speak on this item? Okay. Yes, sir, please, come on up. Have you already given us a form? Okay, if I could have your name and address again.
Yes. My name is Isaac Atakura. I'm here for Yellow Ride OKC. I would like to talk about this minimum at the airport. The gentleman was trying to explain it's not his company alone. All the taxi companies at the airport has a minimum of $40. So when you get into the cab and you even go 1 mile, they charge you $40 for the 1 mile you went. It's been there for more than 5 years. I used to drive at the airport before I started my company. I drove for Star Cab and Thunder Cab. They all had a $40 minimum written on a piece of paper on the cab. So, in regards, he was doing exactly what other taxi companies at the airport have been doing.
So that was only the airport. So if you were at one of the hotels downtown, you didn't do the $40?
Yes, the minimum is from the airport. They came out with this because when Uber and Lyft took over from the airport, taxi drivers will have to sit on the line for 5-6 hours to get a ride. So if you sit there for like 6 hours, a whole day, and somebody gets into the cab and tells you, I'm going 1 mile, it's like, well, what have I been doing all day? So they came out with this minimum charge, so at least it compensates the drivers for sitting there for 3 hours or 4 hours to get a ride. And as I'm saying, all the drivers, all the taxi companies at the airport has a minimum charge, not only United Taxi. They all have a minimum charge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excuse me,
Oh, hold on one second, so we do have a question.
a couple of questions. So this is going on right now?
Yes.
Okay.
As we
And
speak
are they
today,
putting that on a piece of paper to where if a police officer comes up, they can remove it?
no, it's a sticker that is pasted on the windows of the cars and
it
on the
says
side of the
$40
cars.
minimum.
Yes. And as we speak today, Orange Cab at the airport has the minimum, Twister Cab has the minimum, Tender Cab, they all have it. They all have the minimum, and they charge customers, whether you go 1 mile or 10 miles, they charge you the minimum of $40.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sergeant, are you aware of this $40 minimum for all cab companies?
They started back 4 years ago with these minimum charges. It started at $20. And then as it went from $20, it got up to $35 and $40. So when we came to annual inspections this year, we said, and I found out there was a federal law mandating no minimum charges, we said you need to change your rates. Everybody changed their rates except for United Taxi. They wanted to keep the $40 base charge minimum. You can't keep it. It's got to be in the meter. So we looked at all we looked at all the meters. We ran all the meters in all these taxis. We have looked at all the rates, the rate sheets, to make sure everything matches between the business license on this stuff. I do get multiple complaints, and so does Dan Goodman and Eric Barrett at the airport, of people complaining about high charges of $40. But 90% of those we can't get them confirmed because we, one, can't get a hold of the person because they're out of state. And when I do call, they don't return the voicemails. We get quite a bit of those where we just can't confirm it. We get a complaint in, but we can't confirm it with the passenger. It is happening, and most of it's just word by mouth. You know, they say, hey, you owe me $40.
Okay, but to your knowledge, there's nothing posted on the cabs?
No. The only one that had $40 till the new rate change was United Taxi, and his goes into effect next.
One last question, just so I can get this squared away. There are no flat charges. There are no minimums. There is a flag charge that if they hit that, according to federal law, it should automatically pop up $40 if that is their flag charge or what's being called a minimum charge. Is that correct?
It has to be a flag. It has to be called flag. That is the terminology for the starting fee.
This is tied in with the meter. This is not something that a driver can do on their own, just to turn back and say, by the way, this is going to be $40.
They're not supposed to be able to, but I can tell you right now, we do not seal those meters. That is something that I have looked into. Most of your other bigger municipalities like New York, L.A., those inspectors, Dallas and Fort Worth, they seal those meters where they can't get into them. And that stops them from that if the seal is busted.
And then just to be clear, once he puts in that 24 flag charge, even if he's going downtown, somebody hails him, he pushes the button and starts $24.
$24. And it will go up to 6 miles.
Right.
And then it starts the mileage. Like I said, I have to research on how he did that on that part.
But it's clear to all the other companies to not do that anymore, not have a placard in their car that says $40 minimum.
Right, no minimum charges.
That's clear.
But they have to have those rate charges posted so people can see.
The rate charges that's in the meter is posted.
Right.
Right. So there's no more, I get in a taxi, go 2 miles, I will pay what's on the meter now. All the cab companies know that.
Correct. Okay. At one point in time, a couple of companies had the $35 and $40 minimum from the airport, and then when they were out away from the airport, they had a minimum of $20 and $25 for a street fee. So they had it separated. Most of them have separated airport fees and street fees.
Well, now, that was going to be my next question. A lot of the larger cities that you go on a taxi, they'll have different buttons that they'll push depending on the time of day. We don't do any of that, right?
No, not at this time.
Right.
But you can program those meters once you figure out how to program the meters.
Right. Yeah, I just remember during the weekday there'd be one charge, at night it'd be another charge, or the weekend be another charge, and they had 3 different buttons that they would press.
I can tell you, and it was prior meetings to this when we're having all the minimal charges, what the owners had on their meters was they would start the meter, so it would have a $3 flag, and it would say they go 5 miles. So the meter reads, say, just $9.10. As soon as they hit the stop button, it automatically popped up $40. So now you're watching this meter, it goes to 9.10, and then you hit that, well, now you owe me $40. That's what they were doing prior to this year's inspections.
So they were paying the meter, but the meter was not what they had as a license.
It wasn't correct in the way it was being run.
Yes, sir. If you could ID yourself.
I'm Lieutenant Leroy Dancy. I'm the supervisor over at Vehicle for Hire, Permits and ID. How this came about is, as far as the minimums, as we stated before, it's based upon distance and time, which is what it has to be in the meter. What was happening is cab companies were charging $40 basically upon their discretion. It was basically what boils down to. The upcoming rate that he's saying $24 is based upon time and distance. So up to 6 miles, you'll be charged $24. After that, it's however much he decides to charge. Prior to that, and a lot of them were charging $40. Like I said, it's their discretion. So if they knew they were going, say, to Lawton, and they knew that would be a large bill because based upon their regular rates, then that's what they would charge. It had nothing to do with the $40. However, what was happening is, prior to is, a lot of them, as they stated, would sit on the airport line for a couple of hours, only to get a customer who wanted to go about a mile away to the hotels. And that was basically their way of justifying sitting on the line is just to hit $40. So that's what Sergeant Bells is explaining, is that once they travel, say, that 1 mile, they just pop $40 in. And basically you're talking about it's worth their time, not the customer's time. And that's where we held a meeting after we did some research and found that was illegal to do so. They could put the rates inside, but it had to be based upon distance and time, not just an automatic one-time fee. And that's where we're at. And that's what the case was for United in this case, is we checked in inspections as we did all the taxis for the yearly inspection, and that's how Sergeant Bales came up with approximately $8.50 for the 1 mile. In this case, he was the only cab out there at the time. And of course, the shuttle buses, there are shuttle buses that run 24 hours out there to all the rental car companies. This lady happened to be looking for one of those buses, but with her luck, she had just missed one. So being unfamiliar with the area, she's trying to figure that out, and there's really no one to talk to. I mean, you're talking late at night at the airport. So Mr. Chowdhury approaches her and says, hey, no buses are running at this time of night. Only way to get to your rental car place is by cab. Happens to be he's the only cab company that's there. So she felt she was forced. That was her only way to get to her rental car. And that's where we talk about the solicitation part, is approaching her upon that. Mr. Chowdhury, as he says, has been in the business for taxis for a couple of years. His particular company in operation for a few months, and he's worked at the airport, so he's well aware that, or should be well aware, that these buses are running 24 hours out there. And this, in my opinion, this is just that it was just taking advantage for being out there for so long, and and this person happened to be fell victim of the $40 charge.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So all of us understand, how does a potential fare know what that particular cab is going to charge them before they enter it? Are they not required to post on the outside of the vehicle what their rates are?
The outside, a lot of the companies do have their rates posted on the outside of the vehicle. However, that's not what our city ordinance requires. Our requirement is for the inside of the vehicles, because as you know, most people, when you're getting off the airport, you're in a rush to get to wherever are trying to go to, whether it's a business meeting, just to go to a hotel and relax, so they bypass the door, don't even pay any attention to what's the rate. The inside is where it should be posted, and that's where the requirement is. So as they sit down and relaxed inside the back of the cab, they know what the rates are.
Posted in front of the passenger.
No, there is no particular location that it has to be posted, that's stated in the ordinance, but it has to be posted so that a passenger can know what their rate is. So once they sit down, if taxi A is only $8 and they go for their however cents per mile and they're okay with that rate, then they know immediately once they sit down in that taxi. However, if they find out it's $40 per mile, then they know immediately, and they can make their choice accordingly. Do I want to ride with this taxi because I think he charges a fair amount, or I don't want to because I don't think his rate is fair.
Okay, so it's obvious to a person that gets in a taxi cab that somewhere they can easily see that when the flag goes, it's $3 and X amount of dollars for 1/6 mile. It's straightforward.
Correct.
Okay, but you cannot take a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper and put a different fee on that piece of paper just because you're at the airport and you need $40 for that. You've been sitting there all day and you haven't had a fare and you get one in the middle of the night but you cannot do that. You cannot put a piece of cardboard or paper or printed anything in the window, on the window, anywhere on the vehicle that overrides what that meter says is going to be the fare for that passenger.
If I understand you correctly, you're correct. Whatever rate that is posted in that vehicle should match their meter, which also should match what they posted with the supervisors of licensing.
Thank you.
Okay, but I do think there is a point that needs to be clarified to make sure that we understand also, is that this was an acceptable practice previously. And then once it was found out, was clarified as not an appropriate practice, and all the other companies complied, and this is the only company that hadn't done it yet. But yet he has filed their application for the rate change and will be in compliance. Well, he is in compliance right now because he's not charging the $40, but he's going to have that rate change. So from what was mentioned, this was an unofficial accepted practice to do that from the airport, and then once it was found out by the city, it was made clear it can't. So that's an important point, I think, in our talk here about this one situation.
And to this particular driver, this was made known to this particular driver when, and when was the citation time difference?
Over the summer, during the annual inspections, it was made clear to every company that that could not occur anymore, and they verified all the rates that were in the meter, of which at that time his meter was $3 plus X per 1/7 of a mile. But the fact of the $40 charge minimum was the fact that is what we're here for, but it has now been clarified that that's not acceptable. So, yes, sir.
Question, and I understand it's all been clarified this summer and that everybody's aware of it. I just want to know, according to this one gentleman, if it's still common practice to have a minimum that's going on at the airport today.
No, it's not no. We made that very clear in April that the minimums need to stop, and you needed to put it in the meter by a distance in time.
Okay.
So,
And I may add to that it is not legally acceptable, and you can't do it legally. Although these practices may be occurring, as one or two of them may have stated, they know so, or they are doing so knowing that it's illegal to do so.
And that's really the question that I had, was that even though it is illegal, and even though they've been informed, I just wanted to know if it is still common practice to charge a $40 minimum.
Correct. The meeting that we had with all the taxi companies we brought in, we made sure We gave them all the copies of the ordinances that pertain to this, to these ordinances. We're talking municipal, or state and federal as well. We also sat down to make it clear and ask if any of them had any questions about it. In addition to that, if they had any questions after the meeting, they referred to Sergeant Bales to clarify any problems that they may have. These inspections, the yearly inspections are conducted in June.
Last 3 weeks of June.
In June. So we're talking, these companies all know that this was illegal to do so for several months now. So this is not something that we conducted last month, and this is fairly recent. This has been since June they've had this knowledge.
Okay, very good. Any other? Yes, sir.
One more question for Sergeant Bales. When you did your investigation, you wrote with all the different cab companies, were you in official capacity, like in police uniform, or were you in civilian type clothing?
I was in uniform that day.
So they knew what you were doing there,
Yes.
basically?
I went out there, when people loaded from the front, I asked the passengers if they'd mind if I identified myself as the vehicle fire inspector, and they allowed me to ride with them. I told them exactly what I was doing. And then once I had the drivers drop me off at the rental car facility, and then I rode the buses back that run from that facility. So I did that for almost 4 hours.
Okay. And thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions for that? Staff, do you have anything?
Our comments are before you.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have a motion concerning item 5R? Remember, there was 3 charges that was brought up: the overcharging, the leaving his vehicle, and the solicitation. And remember the counselor's comment. Counselor, could you go over the 5 things that we could do here one more time to clarify?
So there's the dismissal, that's the choice, warning, suspension, revocation, or deferment for the next month.
So, okay. So we could just say nothing can come about with it. We could give a warning saying, please don't do that again. We could say shut down for 30 days, whatever time we want, or we could just pull the license. And then we could defer it to next month if there was some more investigation or something. So those are the 5 different options we have. So I'm looking for a motion.
I move for 30-day suspension.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Littlefield to suspend the license of United Taxi for 30 days. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Schuline. Okay, do we have any talk on this item? Okay, I'll talk. I would think that it's a new item, that's a new thing that came up. This one got dropped. The company just kept on doing it, but it's very clear to the company now. I would think just a reprimand might be sufficient to just say, just don't do it again. Because we're going to shut down 5 taxis with 5 drivers. That's a whole month's pay. For the first time. Of course, if it does happen again, well, then it would be very clear to them what could happen. Like here, we could just shut them down completely or do a 30-day or a 60-day or something of that nature. So I just want to throw it out there that I would be comfortable with a reprimand saying just don't do it again. So we had a point here.
I would also like to be mindful of the other drivers, but also it sounds like from what I'm hearing is that even though this is the letter of the law that you guys aren't supposed to do this, a suspicion that it's still going on. And I would like to see us send some message that the laws of the city of Oklahoma City need to be followed, that they won't be tolerated, that you may feel like you're spending too much time on the line, but that goes with the turf. And that if the law says you're not allowed minimums, that means you are not allowed minimums. If you want to flag it at a certain cost, flag it. But just to randomly say, you owe me $40 just for sitting in my cab, is against the law, and we need to send a message that it's not going to be tolerated.
So you're for the motion, kind of? Okay? Yes.
I agree with Commissioner Hale. That's why I made the motion. I think it's critical that the City of Oklahoma City recognize clearly that this is not going to be allowed to happen in this industry. It's our ordinance. It is clear to these folks what the content of that ordinance is. They were reminded of it, what it is, and to just, I don't want to use the term for a reprimand as a fluff, but it needs to have some teeth in it, that the next person that gets caught comes along here may not be a 30-day suspension, it may be a revocation. That's my stance.
Okay.
My biggest issue is the lack of transparency with a lot of these cab owners that just say what you said is, yeah, my bill was $9, but you owe me $40. And it's posted improperly or anything like that that's not on the meter is my biggest issue. I'd probably be in favor of this motion.
Well, just to make it clear, I think us saying it's a new thing, one company had a problem, he fixed it, he still has his actual criminal part of it too. So not only is he going to be out driving for a month, his drivers will be out for a month, and then there's also the fine in the court system. I would say that would be sufficient on a first time with a new rule. We just want to make sure that everybody does comply. We don't want to hurt people, and I think that 30 days may be too much. Okay, anybody else have a comment? Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Littlefield to give a 30-day suspension for the company, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Okay, we go on now to item 5S. Staff, if you want to give some input on 5S real quick here.
Yeah, the applicant, Mr. Nelly, has requested that we defer this item until November. He'd like to make some changes to his plans.
Okay, do we have a motion concerning item 5S?
I move.
We have a motion to defer item 5S to the November meeting from Commissioner Miller. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schuline. Any talk on item 5S? Okay, we have a motion to defer 5S by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Schuline. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is pushed. We go on now to comments from citizens. Does anybody want to address the Traffic Commission? Okay. We go on now to item 7, reports from other traffic commissioners, et cetera. We'll go on over here to Ward 1 to Commissioner Barnell.
My only additional comments are, drove down Oklahoma Boulevard today on the way down here, and yesterday coming down to the Pumpkinville, and what a great thing we've done there, and I'm glad we put in that stoplight, or approved that today. Very needed, and glad the progress down this area.
Go over to Commissioner Littlefield.
I think I've done this in the past, but I'm going to do it again.
Have no input?
I want to thank Walt and Barry for your commitment being chairman and co-chairman, and we all understand the extra work that you guys do and the commitment you have here, and it helps make our job easier, and you will be doing this forever. Thank you very much.
Over to Commissioner Russell. Commissioner Hale.
No comments at this time.
To Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Milner.
No comments. Thank you, though.
Captain, you got any input?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Counselor, anything else? Okay, staff?
You've got our report there of yield controls that have been installed. Other than that, I had no comments.
Okay, is there any other business for the Traffic Commission? All right, stand adjourned.